Hello.
Hello, supermodel.
Good morning.
Good
Oh
morning.
my God.
Well, is my
I
hair
feel,
cute or
I
not?
know. I'm like, I have to fix my hair now with Cameron
I'm
looking like a
I
freaking
know it's
supermodel.
fucked up.
Come on.
Bitch.
I mean,
I was feeling really cute until
are-
that
I
shit hit the
know.
fucking stage.
girl,
Right?
come on. You
It's
are
not
looking
okay.
really cute. You are
Thank you, but
looking
like
gorgeous.
something with the hair. Okay, let's just do it.
Today we welcome entrepreneur Kameron Suck the Nectar Out of Life Miller.
Honestly, I have one of your products right now. Amazing. Your
there
Camp
it
Shield.
is. There
And
it
I
is,
love it.
protected. Thank you.
And I've had it forever,
Thank
and I
you.
love it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so
And,
glad to hear that.
Yeah, and you're also a mom of how many?
Just two, a 13 and a 14-year-old. Yes.
Which is amazing because you're only 18 years old.
Exactly.
And,
I mean, I had them young.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you're also a big advocate of mental health, which is why we wanted to have you on and talk to you today.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and also Dena's best friend. I'm surprised she didn't know.
Best.
Well,
Longest. Best.
Longest.
She's
most
my
amazing.
unicorn, my magical unicorn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So fun.
Many stories about the amazing Cameron and what a thrill seeker you are and all your constant adventures and your beautiful zest for life is just it's super inspiring.
Inspiring. And I would like to say when COVID was happening and my little niece was 14 and Cameron had said in her new BMW convertible after she had gotten COVID, she said, I needed something for my spirit. And she goes, I just love sucking the nectar out of life.
Yes.
And when she left, my niece goes, I love her. I want to be exactly like her. I want to suck the nectar out of life. And then she just kept saying it to her parents, and her parents were like, what are you talking about? And I didn't want to be like, Cameron taught it to her. I was like, I don't know what's up. And her mom would yell at her, and she's like, I'm sucking the nectar out of life.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, we live
that.
on such a beautiful planet. We live at such a beautiful time. We live in a world that we can create things and see things and do things that, you know, most of the people who came before us or us before we took on this body, we didn't have that opportunity, right? It's like you couldn't explore the ocean, you couldn't fly, you couldn't, you know, see a lot of the world. And so I absolutely, I live like I'm dying. I do indeed.
Which
I
is
live
amazing.
as if it's like death can be at any moment. And so if I want to do something, I don't think 5 years ahead or 10 years ahead or make a goal of, you know, a distant future. If I get inspired to do something, it's like, okay, how are we going to figure this out? And I do it.
Yeah. So aside from how many businesses do you have? Tell us about your.
Well, so
what are you managing right now?
My recent company, Cam Shield, that webcam, that I got patented. Thank you. I love it. It was like a little passion project. And when COVID came, because I had just gotten into the bookstores, college bookstores, had exclusive rights, just crossed the border to Mexico. It was like,
and you were going to be across Latin America, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got into some universities, some sports team, and COVID hit and it crushed it. And when COVID hit, it also crushed my happy ass. Like I was bedridden for months. The only reason why I didn't go into the hospital is because the doctor at the time, it was when, you know, you went in, there was a chance you didn't make it out. Like they just didn't know what they were doing. And so I went on every medication thrown at me, which I'm grateful for. It was like the prednisone, the antibiotic.
Was 5 different.
What was that?
It was hydrochloroquine, prednisone, antibiotic, and Pepsid.
And then I needed the anti-nausea.
And then you also needed the inhalers.
The 2 different inhalers. Oh, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And you know how like you're just one size away from one flu away from your ideal size. I lost 22 pounds in just over 2 weeks because when it first hit me, it was like body, lungs, and then it went to my stomach. And when it went to my stomach, I was I mean, I just thought, I'm like, oh my God, my daughter is going to kill me if I die. That's really what I thought. Because I had it for a long time. I tested positive for a long time, and it didn't
53
really.
days.
How long?
You had it for 53 days, the
Yeah.
low grade fever and everything for 53 days.
And then it went to my stomach, and then I was like, oh, this was what all the fuss is. Oh, oh. My bad.
No, but when I saw her, I was really scared, and hence my subtle change, profound impact came in, and I quickly said, "Put on makeup. I'll do your hair." I was looking at a skeleton and someone who was seeing the death. Yeah, it's tough.
So
it's really tough.
Going on all the medications, was that your idea, Cameron? Were you like, just give
UCLA doctor? No, it was a UCLA doctor.
Telling you to do.
Oh yeah,
I see you going, let me try this. Let me try that. Just give it.
Oh, for sure, right? For sure. But I would usually go like cryo freeze, oxygen chamber, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
acupuncture,
acupuncture, stuff like that. I would do that. But my doctor, it was pretty cool. She tried to get a hold of me and she couldn't, and so she called my emergency contact. And she called my emergency contact, who also was a patient there, not her doctor, but a patient there. And she said, listen, I can't get a hold of Kameron. I'm really worried about her. She needs to get on these meds. And so I'm like woken up with gloves and mask and like, Kameron, you got to wake up. You got to take these meds. So that the long and the short of it, that moment, that being bedridden, that gave me an opportunity to reevaluate things and kind of look at where I was and where I've been and where I want to go. And the business did not suit me. It did not suit me. So right now what I'm doing is not my company, not work wise. My daughter's keeping me very, very busy. My fiance is keeping me very busy. Kids are keeping me busy. And I travel a lot. Just got back from South Africa last week. Just can't seem to escape the travel. I always thought it was Chicago when I was living there, that I just needed to get out. Like, I needed to get out. And then I realized that you can put me anywhere and I am my happiest on a plane.
Yeah, you need to get out.
Right?
Well, because I remember in the beginning of COVID, you said that they would have to strap you to a mattress and hold you down in order to keep you quarantined.
Yes.
And you and I handled COVID very differently.
Very different.
You respected the way I handled it, and I respected the way you handled it, which says a lot about our friendship. But I remember you, for your mental health, when people would say things or whatever, I'm like, unless you know her, you wouldn't understand. But really, it is for your mental health if you have to sit in a house trapped with things. So can you go into a little bit about like what that feels like? So is it like, it doesn't feel like an itch, but do you feel like the travel helps you stay positive, go see the world, go see things in a different way, or what do you get out of it?
So I get a few things. One, a little backstory. So growing up and in my 20s, I had severe depression, severe depression, like the kind of depression that you don't shower for days. I had to be locked up, institutionalized for a minute to avoid killing myself. And that kind of depression, it's so like consuming. You just can't. It's when people tell someone who's depressed, like, just get over it, just take a shower, go for a walk. You know what's really good for your mental health? Eating an apple, getting out of the house, taking a shower. It's like telling an elephant, you know what would be amazing if you became a butterfly. It would be so cool. Like, I want to see what you could do. It's like you just cannot do it. And so spending so much of my life being that kind of sick, like just depressed, when I decided to live and really, really live, and it was a pivotal moment in my life that I just thought, good God, if this is life, I'm done, or I'm going to try to do it again by my rules, my terms, my belief system, and I'm going to suck the marrow out of it. And death is always there. So death to me, like when I think of suicide, and when I hear about suicide, it's like, to me, it's just exhaustion sometimes. Even when I'm happy, even when I'm at a good place with my children, and I'm at a good place with my, my relationships and life, I will sometimes just lay back and look up at the stars and light a cigarette, because why? By all means, that could take me first, right? Yes. And I'm just like, I'm so goddamn tired. I'm so tired. Yeah. And then I think, well, what do I want to see? What do I want to do? What haven't I done? And I've done a lot of things, but there's a lot of things yet to see. And when my sisters, because obviously depression, things like that is hereditary a lot. So my sister, she suffers from depression on and off. And when she calls me, she's like, Cami, I just don't want to do this. Like, I just don't want to be here. I'm like, all right, I totally get it. What do you want to do though while you're here? What do you want to experience while you're here? Like, is there anything you haven't done, eaten, seen, tasted, touched? You can always go, you can always end it. You can, it's an option, and I get it. But do you want to see your grandchildren? Do you want to see, them walking down the aisle? Do you want to eat like amazing chocolate in Switzerland, which is like the best, right? Yeah. Do you, totally. So that, with that in mind, I feel like the travel, the experiences, all of that, it's like, what else do I want to see? What else do I want to learn? What else do I want to get through so that I can live my best life?
And the cool thing about travel is there's things out there you don't even know to want because you don't know they're there.
Right?
So you discover new things, and that in and of itself is just like so fun.
And do you ever feel like people minimize your depression because sometimes, let's say, they don't think you look depressed, or like, so for me, when I go through depression, I will always put on my makeup, whether I'm depressed, hospitalized, whatever it may be. But people are like, you don't look depressed. You're not acting depressed. And you're like, well, yeah, that's a thing. It's called masking, or it's something to where I'm presenting my best self in front of people. I'm not going to show you my depression.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like with your family, because I know in my family or in experiences, people have said to me, well, Dena, it's easy for you. It's not the same for me. Like it's easier for you. And it's like, well, how do you know that?
Right.
Like, are you in my head? Because it's pretty difficult in here. And so I have learned to not, because I am guilty in the past of judging the books by the covers, of going like, see, for me, I didn't understand when people talk about being broke. I didn't understand until recently that it means like, because for me, broke is like $10 in the bank, right? But what I've been learning is like, it's broke for whatever that person is used to. Meaning if they're used to being able to get all of their lashes done, their hair done, whatever, and all of a sudden they can't. But for me, I'm thinking like, you can't pay your rent. You can't, because in my depressive states, I've gotten very low to those points. And so I've now learned that there's different levels of depression and where you're at.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of different levels, high to low, right? As far as I have to say, I've done a pretty good job for decades now of what people think of me is none of my business. So I don't really care if they think I'm depressed. I don't really, and I don't feel the need to share it to a lot of people because I live my life that I'm not depressed right now, right? Right now, I'm feeling great. And when I am depressed, you won't hear from me. I don't answer the phone. I won't get out of my bed. Right. It's like when I'm depressed, no one's going to know I'm depressed because you're not going to see and smell me and look at me and go like, oh shit. Now
so you isolate.
We're going to have to throw you in the shower now. Right. And because I was so severely depressed and so sick, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, level 1, schizophrenic undertones, because I would see things, hear things. Like I went really, and on so many medication, I like the lithium and the Ativan and the, so you have the meds to go up and the meds to go down and the meds to help you sleep and the meds to wake you up and the anti-anxiety. And it's just like this tornado of like, just illness. And when you're mentally sick, you're physically sick. And it just went into this loop. And I was able to get out of it by just saying to myself, like, this is not going to be my life. This is not my life. So what do healthy people do? Healthy people, they have pretty good sleep regimens. So go to bed at 10, wake up at 7. Mm-hmm. And when you're manic, keeping your ass in bed from 10 to 7, when your head is cooking, woo, your foot's going, your hands are going, your mind is going, but I'm going to lay here because this is what healthy people do. And when I get up, I'm going to shower. And when you're depressed, when you've got that low energy, getting out of bed is almost impossible. Taking a shower is almost impossible. But you know what I said to myself? I'm like, healthy people take showers. This and the food I ate, I became very, very clean with my eating. I cut off all alcohol. I cut off all substances. So and this is started when I was, 17 was when I was diagnosed. I'm 46 now. So we're talking, it's been a long time. Mm-hmm. And in the course of my adult life, I have really good habits. I'm very disciplined in my thoughts.
But how do you attribute that you got that mindset if other people in your family, were you taught that? Were your parents good examples for that? Like, where did you get that mindset?
No, it's all self-taught. And it was a moment where, like, when you're at death's door, and when I say that, a quick little backstory, I didn't see my father for years. I didn't see him. That, in fact, when I was that sick was the last time I saw him. Fast forward 20 years, 25 years, and my brother's over, and his kids are talking about Grandpa Lynn, my father. And my little kids are like, who's Grandpa Lynn? And I said, well, that's your grandpa. Okay, well, you're my brother, that's your grandpa. And he said, Christopher, my son, was 8 at the time. He's now 14. And he's like, Mom, I want to meet Grandpa Lynn. I want to meet Grandpa Lynn. And so I flew him out to see my dad, who I hadn't seen for 20 years. And he said to me, that had been tough. It was really tough. And it was kind of an out of body experience. It's like, he was living in Florida. He wanted to show us where his weed had gotten taken. He had like a little gun, and he shot Christopher how to shoot guns. And then I have a video of it where Christopher is driving, because my dad was just kind of that guy. And my dad's just drinking beers, taking off his shirt and just drinking beers. And there's just piles of beer. And he said to me at the end of the day, he's like, Cammie, I got to say, I couldn't be more proud of you. The last time I saw you, I thought you were going to die. I really did. I didn't think you'd make it. And you're a miracle. And I couldn't be more proud of you, but I have no interest in having you or your son in my life. 0. What? I've raised 14 kids. I have 1 million grandchildren. I kind of cut you off, and I don't want to let you back in.
Wow.
And
oh, ouch. I mean, did he say this in front of your kid?
He said that. Oh no, he said that to me.
That in front of your kid?
Yeah. He sure did. But here's mindset. But let me just tell you mindset. I walked away from there and I was like, God damn, I respect that old man, because a lot of people would have been like, and then just avoided a phone call or, I'm busy, or kind of placated. I took a lot of, frankly, like, respect. I'm like, you know what? That's how to live your life. He said it in a way that it wasn't hurtful. I knew he was proud of me, but I understood and respected the fact that why would he want me in his life? And yes, I'm his daughter, and I'm half of his DNA. And
okay, but no disrespect. If your dad says, forget the you part, okay? But then it's your kid.
I know.
How did you not get hurt for your kid? Or how do you even give your kid that message?
Well, because my son, he saw it, right? He's like, Mom, I don't think Grandpa Lynn likes me very much. And I said, well,
ouch.
Christopher, there's a reason why you haven't met him. There's a reason why you've never met him. But this is your Grandpa Lynn, and he does have a lot of fun qualities. He's very fun. But he also has a lot of issues, and his issues aren't our issues.
And me, I would have been like, if you had no interest, then why did you let me and my son come here?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Curiosity.
Like, and do you see how you're different? So, like, I guess other people would say, okay, that's really nice that you get to handle things that way. And I guess what I'm saying is that, is it a conscious choice? You chose happiness, because I know you and I got into this debate, and I was very confused the last time I was there when we were talking and you said happiness is a choice. And I was like, well, Cameron, that's not true. Like, some of us wake up depressed, and some of us are in crappy moods, and some of us get the shit end of the stick, and some of us are in chronic pain. So I'm sorry, I can't wake up every fucking day happy. And then you changed me in the way of, and then I started thinking about it going, well, if it's a choice and it's free will and we all have a choice and we get to choose our own thoughts, damn her, straight to hell. Like, it's like, damn her. And it is true, because I have been practicing that now. And it really does feel true that happiness really can be a choice if you let it.
Yeah. And it's a disciplined thought in your thoughts. It's discipline in your action. And it did not come organic at first, not even a little bit. I had to here's the good thing about like depression, illness, the things that I've gone through is it kind of forces you to keep seeking, right? Like Dena, I know you're really good
I'm a
like
seeker.
that. It's
Yes.
like you're a seeker, because it's like you want answers and you want to discover stuff, right? And the more I saw it and the more I read and the more I kind of went inside, the more I realized the fundamental truth. And I wonder sometimes what goes between a belief and a truth, right? It's like, I believe in something, but I also know it to be true. I believe that we are eternal beings, and that just a piece of our being inhabits this physical body. Not all of it, just a piece of it. And we come down to learn, to take this body and to learn. And I believe so strongly because I felt it. Like my brothers, they abused me, and they were really abusive. I have 8 of 9 children. And so when you have a family that big, you get little kids with teenage boys. And if those boys are sick, which they were, really terrible things. Mentally sick. And my brothers now, the ones who molested me, raped me, hurt me, the ones who did what they did, one is in prison and has been for, gosh, he's got like a 35 years to life sentence. The other one has been in and out of prison and is homeless. So they have a terrible life. And yet, when I'm thinking about their terrible life and forgiving them, I had a moment where it's like, the best way to describe it is I was picturing when we come down to earth and we meet with our soul families and we have our soul agreements. I could just picture me going, okay, this lifetime, yes, I'd request to be raped. I would like to be abused because in the other lifetime, I was the abuser. And in the other lifetime, I was the rapist. And in the other lifetime, I was the aggressive one. And when we die, no matter what our physical body has gone through, been through, it's like peace. It's peace. We don't look at it on a soul level. On a soul level, we don't look at it and go, oh my God, that poor child. We don't. We're like, oh shit, that's what it feels like. That's what it felt like. All right, I want to do it again, but this time I want to experience this. Because if we're eternal beings, which I believe we are, and if the only way to experience anything in a physical body is to come down and get one, and we are all knowing, and we are God's goddesses, we are creators, and we come down here And like in this lifetime, I wanted to learn a whole lot of lessons. I've lived a lot of life.
Clearly. But let me say, I will say it. I was very resentful, not of you, but of that thought process. And I
I
think
know
you were
you
the
were.
first one who introduced that to me. And I was
Uh-huh.
very resentful, going, why would I want to come down here and
Mm-hmm.
experience rape, molestation, a
Mm-hmm.
father being in prison,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be? No. And
Mm-hmm.
when COVID hit, is when I was able to sit quiet enough with myself and my thoughts and my things, and I was able to observe and look at things in a different way. And then I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. And then
Right.
I listened to so many self-help books and all of that.
Right.
But I can tell you, if I was somebody like I was before, the outside looking in, I know that my family doesn't have my same thought process, and I'm always ousted for being a weirdo and all of that kind of stuff with the way that I think. So how does that work in your family dynamic with
Well,
all of those
imagine,
siblings?
I mean, imagine. So my belief system and my core that I'm closest to are devout Mormons. I
Oh,
mean, they have been
wow.
married to temples, they wear garments, they do not drink coffee,
Oh,
they don't
wow.
watch rated R movies. The sisters that I'm closest to, and my brother that I'm closest to, they are still active practicing Mormon. And when I was in my 20s and I would go visit, I remember distinctly because I just hid everything from them, right? It's like,
Uh-huh.
I just didn't talk about it. It's like, don't ask, don't tell, don't talk. You go to visit the family, you keep your mouth shut. And I remember wanting to get some coffee in front of my nieces. And my sister's like, you can't drink coffee in front of your nieces, Cami. You just can't do it. And I was like, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm doing like piles of cocaine, not in front of my nieces. So, I mean, are you
Oh my
sure
God, you're a
coffee?
genius.
Are you sure coffee like a bad? But all right. And then this is what happens. And here's the beautiful thing, right? It's like, one, I learned that my sisters, they were my saviors, because when you're a child and you're abused, you don't necessarily have to get that from a nuclear mom dad. You can get that from siblings, you can get that from friends, you can get that from aunties. It doesn't just have to be parent child, right? And my sisters were absolutely my saviors. When I was 29, I went to a Northwestern mental institution for 7 days for suicide ideation and desires. And then I went to this place called the Meadows in Wickenburg, Arizona. And it's 5 weeks and it talks all about childhood trauma, because all those addictions, the alcohol, the pills, the drug use, all that stuff, it's all stemmed from childhood trauma. Because what do you do with your abuse? You eat it, you snort it, you fuck it, you bury it,
You numb it.
you numb it,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the core. And it was so illuminating, because when I got out, I was like, you know what? We're just going to have a hug fest. And I flew all my sisters out to Chicago, and I had been in Africa like a month before, and I got them all little dolls, and I made a poem, and I'm like, you guys are my saviors. I love you so much. And you know what? I live my life like this, and you live your life like that. And it's all okay. And it was so beautiful. And so we have the most amazing relationship. And interesting, through the years, they have expressed a lot of guilt. Like, Kameron, I feel so bad that I wasn't there for you. I feel so bad. Like, I don't even remember this stuff, but like when I got married, the first time I got married in the temple, and at 19, got out of the house. That's what we do. That's what Mormons do. You pray about it. You meet them. You shake their head. You pray about it. Is Heavenly Father? Yes. The answer is always yes, especially when you want to get the hell out of your house. All right.
Yes.
Married.
Wow.
So you get married, and he turned out to be, I mean, just a terrible, abusive. I mean, he just needed a Mormon girl who didn't know anything to cover up the fact that he was a Colombian, German drug dealing and pimp. Like, it was that bad. And
this is
I
after
went.
you came out of.
that's how I got out of the church, because I married him. He was a
had you
Mormon.
gotten out of the Meadows? Had you already been through that
No,
process?
this is 19. This is 10 years before.
Copy.
So this is 10 years before.
It's probably
almost exactly.
It's probably what attributed her going to the Meadows.
He was definitely topic of conversation.
Yes.
Definitely topic of conversation. But my sister, they remember me calling them and saying, "Can I please come live with you?" And they said no, because if you're going to live here, you're going to have to be Mormon. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. And I remember my husband at the time going, "Oh, no, you're not leaving me. No one loves you. No one wants you. You're my wife." And so it was at that moment, because he told me he spent time in Colombia with gorillas. Now, this is before the internet. This is before Google. I was raised Mormon and not highly educated. I mean, I went to 4 different high schools, not very educated. I thought gorillas were monkeys, right? And why wouldn't I think otherwise?
Right.
And I'm watching this PBS special. I'm like, "Derek, were you afraid? Did you get close?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You said you spent time in gorilla in Colombia with the gorillas." He's like, "Not those kind of gorillas." And so I started to see this behavior, and I just literally had no idea. But it turned out to be really ugly. And that's another moment in my life that I was like, and I'm done. Like, suicide is just right there. I'm not doing this. But see, this is something that I learned, is that your angels are often disguised as devils. Your angels are often disguised as devils.
Please elaborate on that.
Because George, at that time, Georg, Jorge, I mean, I had so many red flags, all of his multiple names and languages. Like, I really should have seen it. But at that time, he was like a devil. Like, it was terrifying. It was abusive. It was things I just had no idea. I'd never even seen cocaine before. But he was right. In my head, he was right. I didn't have parents who loved me. I didn't have a family to go back to. I was alone in here. And so it was either death or I'm going to join him. And I am going to jump in and I'm going to stay late.
Into like the party lifestyle?
Into the party lifestyle.
Oh.
I'm going to
do. The gorillas.
Oh my God. Well, the gorillas, thankfully, were there. We just had lots of guns and lots of cocaine. And I mean, it was like,
and you were in Vegas, right?
And we lived on the golf course. We had guns. And let me tell you, it wasn't so bad. It really wasn't so bad. It was like, oh, wait a second. Jesus is not here.
Just talking about it. It's like, what?
No, it was
God
actually really, really fun. And and what George did, because he actually was, he was a self-helper. Like, he introduced me to Wayne Dyer and Anthony Robbins. And
really?
I mean, he was an entrepreneur.
Right?
Well, because you can make a lot of money in drugs. And he was from Colombia. He was from German. He had a green card here in the States. He was very smart and very motivated. And I think he just discovered what he could make. And I was thinking that he was, because he spoke so many languages, I just thought he was like a concierge for high-end hotels. But no, he was actually the one getting them the girls and the drugs, which also makes more sense why he made so much money. But I left the church. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have left the church. And that was something I needed to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful, so grateful that gave me a breadth of experience, of understanding, of knowledge. And it gave me another opportunity. When I left him, I had to leave. Like, I hid. I packed up my stuff. I left when he went away, and I went into hiding. And I mean,
but how do you not become
everything.
Resentful and angry or pissed that you're in that situation? Like, what?
Because it's life. What is there to get upset or angry about? To me, it's like, when I'm at that moment, right? And the golf course house is gone, and all the money is gone, and all the debt it's all mine, because he just ran up the credit card. He literally was like, "I'll tell you what, you can leave me. I will sign this off, but you get nothing. And if you try to get after me, I will take your family. I'll take yours. So you leave. And at that time, Dena, oh my God, at the time you're just, oh, why, how? I get sick again because, the mind will only process so much. And then I just start getting a little like real depressed, real sick, really like, oh, fuck this again. Like, oh, how much?
Yeah.
But as you kind of get in the process of like, okay, what am I learning? What am I seeing? What is my experience? What is my takeaway? Like right now, my daughter is sick and she's really sick and she had to be inpatient and now she's outpatient. And it is my nightmare, because I thought when I was a kid, I was a cutter, I was sick, I was using, but I was abused, right? If I protect my daughter and give her everything and love her, I didn't have parents who loved me. She has a mother who loves her. And I saw cuts on her when she was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And, she started to use drugs to quiet the mind.
Or with
and
the
now,
eating.
say it again.
The eating. With the eating.
The withholding the food for control. It's like all this stuff. And I'm like, once again, I'm in a position where I'm like, fuck my life. Like how? And she looks like me. It's like life has just
it's like, how do you not go in denial, or how do you not like, or even before you had kids, did it occur to you that maybe your mental illness would be passed down to your kids? Before you had kids, did you think about it?
Well, yes and no, because when I was 30 and I went to the Meadows, what I discovered was that I didn't have bipolar. I had PTSD, horrible PTSD, because I didn't need meds for 10 years and I haven't needed meds since. I just had terrible PTSD. And whenever I got quiet, I would have terrible night terrors and all of that. So I looked at it like all my stuff, it was all directly related to the abuse. And because my daughter is, has a safer environment, is I'm her mother, we're going to be able to offset that. And what I've discovered is like, you know what? I still could have had everything and still been sick. Puberty could have just wreaked havoc on me. My brain just cooks differently. The abuse certainly didn't help it. But even without it, and this is another opportunity for me to go, okay, Kameron, here we are. And you have an opportunity to practice what you believe in. So as painful as this is for me, for Kyla, as scary as it is for me, I think this is also her journey. And this is, my kids came through me, but they are not mine. They are their own people. They are their own experiences. And my ex-husband, I've been divorced for 10 years and we have to sit and do therapy sessions every Tuesday. He and I co-parenting counseling every Tuesday.
That must be fun.
It's painful. It's so fucking painful. But you know what I say to myself? Like when I'm like, oh my God, like how I think, you know what? Kyla also chose him to be her dad. Right?
Right.
And
sorry, he may be
Kyla,
wonderful. I don't know him.
oh no, he's not. No. No.
There it is.
He's not. He
Different.
married our living nanny. All right. Let's just cut to he married the living nanny.
But she's a
25 years younger. I mean, it just no. And I had to sit in a room with them every Tuesday and then every family. It is hard, but what a great opportunity. What a great opportunity to go, okay, what am I learning and what do I need to learn?
Okay, but I'm going to interfere that very quickly because you taught me this term a couple weeks ago, toxic positivity. Now, for people listening, would that be considered if somebody is approaching things, let's just say, in a way that you or I do in some ways, because I choose to take the positive as well? Do people tend to go, oh, Kameron, life doesn't work like that, or oh, Kameron, life isn't like that? Do they get annoyed with your process of positivity?
You definitely get annoyed sometimes.
I do. Yeah, sometimes, sure. I do.
I mean, you get annoyed sometimes.
Well, sometimes I get annoyed because I'm a literal person, so I'll be like, well, what do you mean by that? And it takes me a minute to sort of get it. But I just think from the outsider looking in who hasn't been exposed to, let's say, like self-help and all the positivity things and all of that. Because for me, in my environment growing up, don't even ask me how I knew what self-help was or positivity was, because it sure shit wasn't taught in my family. Right. So it's like, I'm the one that is a different, I think different than everyone in my family.
Yeah.
And so what I know is that they're like, oh, please, Dena, it's not like that. Or, oh, please, Dena, we can't all think like you. Or, oh, you know what I mean? So it's like, I love the way you look at things, but I also want it to be clear to other people that it's not toxic positivity. It's just a lifestyle choice in the way, kind of like choosing to be happy. You're choosing to approach it with this mindset.
Right, exactly. Okay. And here's another reality. Like, as far as your family or your friends or people who don't agree with you, that is okay. I think one of life lessons is to learn. Abraham Hicks, she gave this great little YouTube clip, and she was talking about how when you're in a relationship with someone, and it doesn't just have to be like a lover, it could be a friend, it could be a family member. When you're in a relationship with someone and you get really upset and you guys are arguing, right? Little kids have the ability just to sit there and play with their little toys, and they can hear the argument, but they're not thinking like, oh, I got to go take away my toys and I need to go here. And they just kind of can live in the moment. They're not paying attention to the stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So if my sisters or Miles, my fiance, or my girlfriends are like, Kameron, come on, look, it's like, that's okay. It literally, like, what people think of me is none of my business. It's not my job to turn on the light for everyone. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to be me, and you can love me. You can hate me. You could appreciate me. You can not. And it's not like a aggressive, like, you don't like me, blah, blah. It's just a genuine, like, you know what? You're on your own journey.
But how did you learn not to be a people pleaser in the abuse that you grew up in?
Because I was such a people pleaser, right? I grew up pleasing people. That was literally my very nature. And my very nature is still to be a people pleaser. But I have pivoted, and I look at people pleasing as, one, not my job. Two, I'm going to love you. I'm going to honor you. I am going to check in on you. I'm going to bring you a meal. I'm going to talk to you. I can hold your hand. I can support you in a lot of ways. And if me supporting you pisses you off, because how the hell is she happy, or what, like, if it pisses you off, that's okay too. That's okay. Cannot please anyone. What you're here to do, what your life lesson is, to learn to please and honor yourself. Learn to please and honor yourself. Be comfortable with your own being. Be comfortable with the quiet. Like, for years, the quiet was deafening. It was deafening. I could not do it. And it took me a lot of journeying and plant-based medicine and therapy and everything I could do.
And the non-attachment.
And the non-attachment. And then it's like, you get comfortable with you, and it's like this magic happens. Because when you talk to people, you're not trying to fix them. You're not trying to, it's like I have people that I love. I mean, they're going through something so horrific, and they're willing to let their husbands stay despite cheating and lying and stealing. And there's a whole contingency of people who are like, oh, why can't you leave him? This is disgusting. What are you teaching your children? And they're so aggressive about it. And it's like, whoa, like, this is not your life. It's like, if we're going to be a society of acceptance, right? It's like, we accept everyone, unless you're like Christian, Trumper, Jesus, I want to make the family unit. Then we're like, that bitch is crazy. And that's something that we need to come on the other side of, because it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you something though? Because what Dena was saying is like, how did you like your positivity wasn't always there, right? At one point you were severely depressed. You were looking at possibly ending your life. Was there through the various healing processes that you did? Did you notice a particular aha moment where the switch flipped for you, or did you have to go through a lot before it just sort of gradually happened? I feel like it was a switch with you.
Yeah, it was a switch. It was definitely a switch. And it was done really during my Aya moment. Like there was a lot of things kind of led me to that. But when I did ayahuasca, that was my pivotal moment, because I realized how life, like the stories we tell ourselves, just the stories we tell us, and they're just stories. Like Dena, she likes to say, like, the universe is teaching me, and I go, oh, wait, who's teaching you? You're teaching you, sweet girl. The universe is just there, right?
Wait a minute.
The universe is there. So you have a choice. Today, you both, everyone listening, you have a choice. You can think of a subject matter that really grinds you, right? Whether it's politics or COVID or mask or no mask or, whatever it is, right? Think of something that grinds you, and then just breathe, just quiet your mind and just breathe and look at like all the possibilities and all the options and all the things that people can experience.
So did you see that when you were doing the plant medicine? Did you see a horrific moment, like a vision, like people talk about doing in your life, and you just went, wait a minute?
What I did, I went there with Aya with the sole purpose of getting rid of my inner child, because that little asshole is a terrorist. I mean, she is a fucking terrorist. She will not go away. She's a coward. She comes when I'm sleeping. It's like my entire life. Again, 46 years old. And it's like when I'm really quiet and meditative and like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'll have fucking night terrors. I'll have a regression. Like, and I went to Aya literally with the sole purpose. I told the medicine woman, I'm like, get her the fuck out of me.
Yeah, she's like, right? Literally, I was there, and she was like, I'm just going to kill her. I'm going to kill my little child. She's been through enough.
Send her
to the moon. My God, Aya.
I'm going to go put her on the moon and like let her just sit there and
just be done. And so, and when I first did it, I was so afraid of what's coming out. Like I paid a medicine woman like for 10 people because I just needed to do it myself, just in case she did emerge.
Yeah, so you were sitting there by yourself.
Yes, she paid because she was trying to even control the ayahuasca.
Oh, is that what it was? You just wanted the privacy to do it.
The control, the 1,000%. So I was like, what's your minimum number? I will pay you that minimum number. Here's your cash. It will just be me.
25.
Right?
And why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what happened?
Oh, nothing. Not a goddamn thing. It was like a light show. Oh, nothing. I was wearing the white dress.
Feel it. Oh, no. That's funny.
Show is like,
That's really
and
funny.
She said to me, she's like, it's because you want to control. You want to, you demand of the universe. You demand, you're controlling. And I'm thinking, no shit, by now I'm like hippie. I let go with the flow. And she's like, no. So she's like, in 2 weeks, I'm doing it again. It's going to be a group. It's going to be all women. It will be 14 people. It will be back in Mexico. So I'm like, okay, 2 weeks. My kids will be with their dad. I'll go. It was a sold out, men and women, 28 people, men and women, in Spanish. And there was a thunderstorm. So we had to go down to like this yoga bunker. And I'm walking down there going like, this is literally Dante's 7 layers of hell. This is my fucking hell. There's little buckets.
And you chose it.
I know. So she's sitting there and she sings and she talks through the whole process. She sings and talks and she's speaking in Spanish. And I'm looking around and everyone's crying. They're crying. They're crying. And I'm like, what is she saying? What is the story she's telling herself? And I swear to God, it was like, wait a second. What stories do I tell myself? And then gut busting fucking laughter for 4 hours straight. I'm like, oh, the inner child? Oh, where is it? Is it trapped in my stomach? I'm so abused. Oh, I was traumatized because I was raped. I mean, they had to put me in a different room. They had to put me in a different room where my journal from that night, because I managed to journal, it's got like big smiley faces with like laughing tears and cries because I'm laughing so hard. Because you think about this, it's like the narrative, the narrative. It's like, oh my God, I was abused, and this it just won't go away, and it's so traumatizing. It's like, that is your narrative to hold you to whatever path you're choosing. And gratefully, my aha moment during that was like, wait a second, I'm choosing this. And I'm grateful because it led me here.
Okay.
All that abuse led me constantly seeking and finding and asking and trying to release. So I'm grateful for it. But goddamn, the stories we tell ourselves. The stories we tell ourselves.